Okay, so I'm gonna be working with Atlas on leading and starting to get him ready for the lead rope. So he has been led with the lead rope before, but I really wanted to go back, make his association more positive because I was using a lot of negative reinforcement. So that's why I have rope prep included in here as well. So I've got the target. He has a halter on, and then I have a piece of twine I'm going to put on him later. So he's following me nicely. I kind of have the target halfway, like it's not all the way out where I would usually hold it, but it's not completely down at my side. So I'm trying to keep him just following it. Like there, he got a little bit ahead of me, came backward, touched the target. So I'm trying to play with this. It's not perfect. It's just going to be like a progress video because right now I don't know if that's reinforcing to him if he stops ahead of me and then he backs up to get it. That might be, he might be thinking that's what I want. So I have to probably break this down a little bit more. He's not horrible at leading. He probably gets ahead of me a little bit, but it's really not bad. Um, but I probably should work on just doing it inside the protective contact of the around the round pen. So then I'm not having that. I can just kind of turn and go the other way. It's like there, he's getting ahead of me again. That was a nice change. I probably could have clicked him for stopping. Um, so that was good. And he's in the perfect position right now. This is where I want him. He just wants to get maybe just a step or two ahead of me. And then I want to click and reward here for him standing and waiting. So another mistake that I made was not having him stand and wait as a separate behavior. So I was just like, let's do leading, 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 going forward, following the pressure. So it's side to side. So I think that was another issue of mine. So I'm clicking and rewarding him again here for standing still. Was that I was just clicking and rewarding for going forward. I hadn't balanced that behavior out. So he's leading really nice here. Maybe getting a little head there, good, but he pauses. So I'm going to click and reward him for that. Want to point out the good things and say, yes, I wanted you to pause there and kind of do like a little half halt and stop there. So that's fantastic. He thought he was going to go forward and get the tree. I was just dropping him on the ground there. I'm just going to ignore all that. He's standing straight and waiting, so I'm going to click and reward that. And then we'll walk off. He follows me quite well. He does get a little sticky, kind of like in the yard when there's a little bit more. That was a good stop. I'll click and feed him for that. Like when there's a bit of more temptation, like, oh, there's some grass or there's some other things he wants to investigate, he is a bit more sticky with leading forward. But we're working on it for sure. And then I think again, like in the other clip, um, that was good. I'm going to click him for pausing there and waiting for me. I probably could have used a longer target. I think that would probably help out the bending that both of the Mustangs have. Their bending touch that target, it's a little short, and I'm trying to do like a halfway, like I'm not using it, I'm using it kind of thing. So I end up making it even shorter, and I feel like that's probably making it worse because they're even trying to get it more. So, but it's a learning curve, got to figure it out as you go, partially. So that was a decent backup. He was a little bit ahead of me that I'd like, but he's listening to my body language. Like I don't completely lose him and he just wanders off. So we don't have that issue. It's more like a little bit of just fine tuning, making it a little bit more in sync. That's all we're doing here. I'm just gonna let him hang out here and chew because again, from the start, I didn't balance this behavior with a good stop and stand behavior. So I'm really gonna work on that now. That's super important. Didn't realize that in the beginning. So definitely need that. Definitely need a lot of that. Probably more stop and stand than go forward. Probably because that's a hard behavior for most horses to do. So that was a nice turn. Clicking for that. He's staying with me really well, and I like to do both sides. I probably could have thrown a break in the middle and done something else, but he's pretty good at this. He understands leading from both sides. I started training him that from the very very beginning. He leads on the right and the left, not just the left. So he's definitely not confused about that. So again, I'm gonna click him for stopping and standing, and he's hanging out well. He probably has the best default out of all the horses, um, so he's pretty good about that. So I'm letting him kind of follow the target here. That was a nice stop. Click and feed him for that. Then I'm gonna hang out and I'm just gonna make that stop and stand a little bit longer, just letting him chew and then I'll click and feed him. And just kind of adding to it. Sometimes I'll click and feed multiple times while he's stopped, maybe just once. It kind of depends. I'm kind of at the point where I'm mixing up when I'm giving it to him and he's not on a consistent reinforcement schedule, that was very nice. He was about parallel, like his throat latch with my shoulder, so that was pretty much perfect. Maybe just a slightly behind, but really not bad at all. This is really good. And he does probably lead a little bit better on this side, um, just because I probably practice it slightly more out of habit. But a good default. I'm clicking through that, so he's sitting still. I want that. That's going to help too. Get rid of that falling in front behavior. Is he's thinking more stand stop, and he's kind of a bit more backwards. So this is really great. He's really following that target. Plus, another helpful thing of the target is it lowers his head because he's following that target. So I like really where his head is at as well. So click and feed him there. That was great. He definitely is a little bit better on this side. I think I practice this side probably more. So that means just me watching this back is that I need to practice more on the other side as well. That was a good stop because his stops and just his overall leading is a little bit worse on that right side. So I need to work on that a little bit more. But the whole goal of this was I really probably felt like I used way too much pressure in the beginning with him in the halter training. Um, so I'm trying to just go back and make sure he's okay. He's not worried about the pressure, and that's what I'm working on here because I he does want to pull away, and I need to get rid of that because I probably definitely helped make that happen. So I need to do less negative reinforcement, less like hold you here and make you follow this pressure, and more, okay, pressure leads to good things, or not necessarily pressure, but just like a little touch. I don't want it to be negative for him. So I'm really gonna go back and work on this. So I'm starting off with the Liberty. He's decent at the Liberty. Then I'm going to use the Twine. So if he got scared, I could just pull through. He can leave. He doesn't feel trapped. I feel like he feels trapped in a lot of situations, and that's what I don't want. So that's why we're going back to the Twine here. Even though we have decent Liberty leading, he is going to need to lead on a line. It's just going to be something he has to do. So, but all that looked really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Twine on, and I just have like a regular flat halter. I got him a better fitting halter too. I felt like the other one he had was a bit small. This one has a bit more space, and I'm just gonna slide the Twine through and half it over, fold it over just on the bottom ring, and he does pretty good with that. And this is how I started training him. This looks excellent. I started him with this. I think I started in a rope halter though, and it was decent. And then the beginning leading was decent, and then kind of in the middle I was like, okay, I feel like I wasn't getting enough done, and I needed to do more. And then I had too much pressure, and then it just kind of backfired. So now I'm back to just kind of rebuilding it from where I started off, and then just moving that Twine around. He looks pretty good. He looks pretty relaxed. His head was pretty even. He lifted a little bit at the end, but that was just because I clicked there. Because he did have a fear of like the rope kind of touching him on the neck or moving around underneath him, like attached to the halter. So we're just kind of working on all that. It's just a little bit hard to see from this angle. And I'm probably using like the tug on the rope here more than I would normally. So usually if he's on a lead, I would just kind of walk off and he would follow me. But for this, since I'm trying to retrain that pressure, I'm going to ask with the pressure and then leave with myself, my feet. So that's what I'm doing there because I want him to feel that little pressure and then like, oh, I'm going forward, I'm going to earn a reward. So trying to make it more into a tactile cue than a pressure. I'll probably keep referring to it as a pressure, but that's what I want it to be, as a tactile cue. So, and it's just hard because I can retrain other cues, and I will with him. He knows lock on, and I want that to be his main cue, but he is going to need to learn about the halter pressure. So that's where I'm trying to work in that tactile cue, so he doesn't have to feel more than that, and then it's just going to get worse. His reactivity to the pressure. So we have a great stop and stand here. That was fantastic. And then I don't know why it zoomed out. I'm using my Pivo and it was doing really well. I liked that close up, and then it felt like it needed to zoom out. But I just kind of pet on him. Sometimes I'll pet on him, sometimes I'll lean away, sometimes I'll look away. I'm just trying to mix it up. So sometimes I'm in a slightly different position while he's waiting and hanging out there for me. so that he can kind of generalize a little bit. He's to that point where he can. That was a great stop. So just looking back at this, I definitely need to work more on that right side for sure. I get in my habits and I go back to just leading on the left side. So this looks great. I think he's looking off at something, but I like that he's nice and still, pretty relaxed. And he's on like the scary end of the arena, so he looks pretty good. So he came back from looking at whatever it was that he was looking at. I presented the target and I clicked and fed. So I'm like, as long as you stay here with me and you're connected, I'll give you an opportunity to get a reward. So that's why I didn't want me using the target to put him back into position to become like a reward. So that's why earlier in the video I kind of explained that a little bit. So he stopped really well. I was using pressure on the line there and he stopped immediately. He's pretty good at that. As far as stopping and backing up, it's really that go forward that's sticky, or just like wanting him to move forward like as if he was tied, that freaks him out a little bit. So this looks great. Perfect position. So, I thought I saw like a nail on the ground. But this looks really awesome. I'm pretty happy with this. He looks nice and relaxed. I'm trying to make like a little tight turn, kind of add in some stuff like um, eventually I'll add in some obstacles, do some stuff like that. I think I did in the last video at Liberty. He does those pretty well. It's just another layer of not necessarily physical pressure like that I'm applying to him, but mental pressure. Like he has to kind of figure out, what am I doing? What am I asking him? Where is he going? That kind of stuff is according to the obstacle. Like where does he have to place his feet and so on. So um, now I'm going to go to this other side and kind of fix his halter here and get his hair situated. And I kind of do that too because um, he needs to kind of, he wants to be tense sometimes when you're doing another activity and then you go and like touch him on the head or like pet his forelock, something like that. So I need to make that more positive as well. So let's see him from the right side, which is his little bit worse side. That was actually a nice turn around me. That's a little bit easier turn, so I kind of start off with that instead of me like taking a left hand turn really sharply here because that'd be a bit harder for him based on where I'm standing. This is a great default. That looks fantastic. He's probably looking at something in the woods in the grass, but standing nice and straight there, you can see my little pole on the halter. Like I'm just taking the slack out and then he's going forward. So that looks nice. He got a little in front of me. So I probably shouldn't necessarily ask him to move over. I probably should fix that a bit in the round pen. I don't want the pressure to be like make him feel wrong, but he doesn't seem like he's necessarily he's definitely not afraid. He doesn't seem worried. He just seems like, oh, instead of that, I'm just going to ask you to come over here. So that seems okay, but I don't want it to get to the point where I'm using that as a correction. I don't want to do any of that. So, so it's kind of like a balance there. You don't want to use that as a correction. You want to make it positive, but you don't want to make it a reward to where he thinks that what he's supposed to do. So there's just a balance there. This is a nice default again. He's excellent at the default. So probably I'll just work on some more right hand side leading, stopping, going forward, standing in default. That's probably all he needs. Not real bad, honestly. But again, behaviors are like that. You kind of have to maintain them, and you know it can kind of shape into something you don't necessarily want. So you just kind of have to play with it, like over time. That looked good. This is really nice, actually. I like that nice slow walk. That was really perfect. And we're again on that far side of the arena. Very, very good. I'm just kind of making myself slower than I usually am. I probably could have fed a little bit further away from my body so his head's a bit straighter so again I don't get that curling. But that was pretty good overall. Building that weight into the behavior, like part of it is just stopping and standing. That's just how it is. That's so then he doesn't think anything different. He doesn't think it's go, go, go all the time. But I mean, I'm choosing to use I'm just going to refer to the twine as a rope out here because I don't want him to be afraid of it while it's touching on the round pin rope. I don't want that. So I might go ahead and do just like cones or take the rope off and work on that and he he can kind of go on little targets around. That might work as well. So that's a nice stop. And he's responding nicely to that. He responded really nicely to that. So I asked him with that cue on the rope to just stop, and I took a few steps forward. That can be hard for a lot of horses because if your only cue to lead is following the owner forward, that can hurt you later on when you go to use a cue for like riding or in hand stuff and you ask for that halt on the halter, but you continue to go forward and they can get really confused. So and then we're going to end the session. So I wanted to work on the gait a little bit because he gets a little claustrophobic here. Like here, he just kind of goes on without me. He doesn't look worried or anything. He was just anticipating a bit, and I'm just going to bring him back. No big deal. I just kind of want him to pause. He doesn't even necessarily need to stop. But instead of me opening the gate, he just goes through it. He doesn't go through it quickly. So have him stand here. He paused and waited. I clicked him. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pause, click him for standing still, and then I'll give him another opportunity to go through. So I'm not going to like force him to stand there. If he goes through, it's fine. I'm not going to put any pressure on him. But I just want that to be a bit more positive of an experience because he feels a bit tight, closed in. He doesn't like that. So this looks pretty good though. Because he kind of the branches kind of get down low on the left hand of the screen to his left side, and then the gate's there and the tree's there and I'm there, and he kind of just feels a little squeezed. So this looks really nice. So I just wanted to make it a positive opportunity. So if he wants to walk through like he did in the first um, little issue there when we got to the gate, the first moment he went through, that's okay. I'm gonna let him. I'm not gonna put any pressure on him. I don't want him to feel more trapped or scared. I'm just gonna say every time you stop, we're gonna earn a reward. So just making it a little bit more positive. Some horses who have a lot more anxiety about it are not ready for that, but Atlas is because he just has a little bit, and I'm just gonna work on it and make it more positive. The leading looks awesome to his pasture too. So he wants to get a little ahead of me in the yard, but this looks really, really nice.